Thank you, Ramola and Vivek.
I, Akshay Gehlot, Student Manager, BMHRD,
And I, Shreya Sharma, Corporate Relations Coordinator, BIMHRD.
takes immense pleasure to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. T.K. Mandal, Vice President, Human Resources, JK Papers.
With basic qualification in engineering, the initial 5 years of Sir's career were in the field of project management in Engineers India Limited.
With the aim of pursuing doctoral level studies, he joined NITIE Mumbai as faculty member and registered simultaneously for fellowship. It was there where the seed of HRD was sown in him through extensive training and consulting in areas of HR and human resource management.
Later, he decided to move on with industry and joined Aditya Birla Group at one of its large units as the head of human resource development and industrial engineering. After spending around 11 years in Aditya Birla Group with periodic role expansion including a job rotation, Sir joined more than a century old and highly respected JK organization in corporate role of Vice President Human Resources at JK Papers. He has been associated with this company for over 7 years now.
Now, I would like to call upon our guest, Mr. T.K. Mandal, to enlighten us with his words of wisdom.
Sir, the podium is all yours.
Before we begin the proceedings, I would like to call Professor D.S. Kadam, Director, Project and Alumni Affairs, to provide the guest with a bouquet of flowers. The podium is all yours, sir.
Respected Dr. Balasubramaniam, senior faculty directors from the Balaji Society, and my dear students. Everybody says it's a great privilege and honor to be here. I also would say the same, but probably with little more heart, because on arrival at Balaji Society, you all have really touched my heart, and I mean it. And I must sincerely compliment Bala sir for building such a great institution, and his other colleagues for helping him in doing so. Thank you so much, sir. That's a contribution to the nation, I would put it that way. Boys and girls, can I refer to you that way? Yes. Great. I have always been telling my son, who may be a little older than you by few years, he has never been a bright student. He never stood first in the class. But one thing that I have always been telling him is that, beta, the first position is kept for only one person. Everybody cannot become first. You agree with that? Yes, sir. But everybody can become a very good human being. Is there any doubt on that? Great. So, you know why I'm saying this? I didn't want to mention it here, but let me tell you very upfront. We may not sit down and start comparing Balaji Society and its institutions with the frontline IIMs. Okay? But then, on the other side, as far as development of the students are concerned, I think Balaji is doing a great job, and many others can follow Balaji that way. I have mentioned these words in the very beginning itself because, honestly speaking, I am not a philosopher, I am not a great orator, but I believe in certain thoughts which I planned to share with you in whatever simple way possible. I have prepared a few slides, and I believe I have about 30 to 45 minutes time. I'll try to go through those slides, and somewhere in those slides, this thought of mine would be evolved. The presentation that I'm going to give or show it to you would be in few parts. There's another thing which I believe very strongly is in the philosophy of give and take, principle of give and take. I'm really fortunate, as I said earlier, to have been called here, to have been thought of worthy of being standing in front of you. So therefore, I have a duty to perform, to do my best to convey whatever I can to, particularly to the students. At the same time, I also have something to take, and that is in terms of my company, the umbrella that I work under. Okay, so therefore, the first part of the presentation, I promise it won't be long, would be about my company, what we do, and would probably give you a feel of what kind of culture that we are in. And the reason that I have kept it is, one is the company brand which goes into your mind, number one. Number two is you also get to know about the company as to how we work, what are the pluses, minuses. You can ask questions later on this. The second part, which honestly speaking I thought would be very boring, is boring because most of the speakers probably would be addressing on the same, and I heard the esteemed previous speaker towards the end touching upon similar lines, how to be successful, what makes people successful. Okay, and finally, the last portion would be specific to my brethren, those who are aspiring to be in my profession. Okay, now these are the three parts that I have split the presentation into. So I'll start with the company that I come from. It's called JK Paper. How many of you have heard about JK Paper? I'm glad to see that. JK Tyre, perhaps most of you, I suppose all of you have heard about, because you see, visibility is better there. As far as JK Paper is concerned, we manufacture paper. And I'll come to that, what kind of paper. But as far as paper is concerned, in your hands is just a simple thing like this, isn't it? Do you distinguish, when you write on a paper, on a piece of paper, or you get things photocopied, would you get into what kind of paper, what is the brightness, what it is, strength and other things? You don't bother to. And that's where we get into the act, and that's what we do all about. Incidentally, I also take care of the HR of another company in the group, which is Umang Dairies. Has anybody heard about Umang Dairies? Oh, excellent. How did you hear it? Great. Yes. Yes, last year we visited, in fact, one of your senior students joined us this June in marketing in Umang Dairies, and he's doing well. He's at Delhi. So that's another company that I take care, but I'll intentionally leave that aside. Now, as far as JK Paper is concerned, this is a panoramic view of our plant in the state of Orissa, a place called Rayagada. Paper industry or paper plants are normally known to be very dirty, clumsy, and not environment friendly, etc., etc. You wouldn't be able to read this message that is written on the right-hand side panel, but it speaks about the environment that we care for. Okay, I am not here to give a forced propaganda on how environment friendly we are, but then I can tell you something, that for every paper, every tree that we cut, we plant 10 trees. This fact is not known to many. Number two, we don't cut standing trees. We cut trees only which are planted by us for making paper. Number three, we don't cut any and every tree. There are some species at a particular aging level that we use for making pulp and in turn making paper. Therefore, we call ourselves as paper friendly. In fact, if you see our emails, there's a slogan at the bottom of every email that comes out of JK Paper, any executive of JK Paper. It says, if you want to print this email, please print it, because that's going to help the environment. Contrary to whatever you heard about? Okay. I would request you to kindly go through some of the literature or, just for the sake of enhancing your knowledge on how paper industry is helping the common man, farmers, etc. Okay, we belong to a group called JK Organization. It's in my introduction, it has been said that it's over 100 years old group. And JK Organization has several companies. Some of the prominent ones, we have JK Tyre. You have heard about it, all of you. We have a company called JK Lakshmi Cement. I'm sure most of you also have heard about it. We have a agri-genetics company called JK Seeds, based out of Hyderabad. Okay, they are into genetically engineered seeds for greater agriculture productivity. This is the other company that I work with, Umang Dairies. The plant is at Gajrola. The company is based out of Delhi again. We have another company called JK Fenner Limited. This is an acquired company quite some time back, and market leaders in auto components, V-welds, etc. We have a clinical research company called CliniRx. This used to be based out of Gurgaon earlier. Now it has shifted its base to United States. We have a couple of other activities. One is in hospital and health services. We have a very famous hospital called PSRI, Pushpavati Singhania Research Institute at Delhi. This is a very specialized hospital on liver and kidney related medical treatment and research. And we are into education also. Many of you might have heard about some of the JK schools across the country, particularly in the east and central part of India. But you might not have heard about an university that we set up about 4 or 5 years back in Jaipur, called JK Lakshmipad University. So these are the places that we are in. Like any other company, we also have a vision, a mission, and core values. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but except the bottom portion, that is the core values. Why I said this? Because you ask any of our employees, we really value these values. Our first core value, please read it, it's caring for people. And believe you in me, we demonstrate it by action. Those who have worked with JK would vouch for this very well. Okay. The second is integrity, including intellectual honesty, fairness and trust. And third is commitment to excellence. Now, commitment to excellence is excellence in every sphere of our work, whatever we do. Okay, there is a touch of excellence. Okay, and as far as quality is concerned, our papers are market leaders. There is nobody matching our quality. There are other bigger paper makers in established organized sector in India, but as far as quality is concerned, we are among the best in the world. Somebody, in fact, my friends who accompanied me were asking, how is JK as a company, culture? I mean, JK culture as a company. Of course, she asked me to compare it with my previous organization, Aditya Birla Group. I don't want to divulge what I disclosed to her about this comparison, but I can definitely say about JK Paper. Ours is a company where you'll see intense professionalism everywhere at all levels. It's a family-run organization. You all would know that. The person who looks after this business, JK Paper, Mr. Harshpati Singhania, if you meet him, you will confuse him with a professional instead of being a promoter. That's the kind of culture we have. Bright youngsters have no barriers as far as interaction, contribution, and working is concerned, whatever they want to do. I mean, please note the word bright. Not each and every youngster gets this opportunity. So be it Mr. Singhania, be it Mr. Our business head, the president, or other senior people, there's no barrier as far as levels are concerned. There are several levels, all right, but then that doesn't come in the way as far as professionalism is concerned. At the same time, we have a tremendous family value inside the organization. Now, it takes some time to get into that kind of culture, family culture, for someone who has joined JK Paper. But after some time, one would start feeling it. Okay, it's something which is to feel about. I really can't express that. I can't explain that. I can only express it. Okay, so these are the core values and probably defines our organization. Some of the landmarks that we have come through, although the group is more than 100-year-old, JK Paper itself started its business sometime in 1938 with the manufacturing of straw wood. With manufacturing straw wood at Bhopal. It's called Straw Products Limited. Some of you might have heard it, but senior people must have definitely heard it. It's a famous company. As far as our first paper plant now, and the present paper plant is concerned, the Odisha plant, that started operation in 1962. So that itself is more than 50 years old. Okay, then subsequently we added capacity, etc., etc. And last one being in 2013, where we have almost doubled our capacity at Rayagada with state-of-the-art machines to produce paper. And it's a high technology, best of class technology in the world that we have adopted in Rayagada, doubling the capacity with the same number of manpower. I'll touch upon it later as far as this plant is concerned. These are our products and brands. JK Ledger. Then this is our flagship brand, JK Copier. There's nothing to match in the market as far as quality of this copier paper is concerned. And we have some more newer brands called JK Sidar, JK Max. There's something called JK C-Max, JK Sparkle, etc. JK Easy Copier is another good brand which is on a entry-level segment. It's a cheaper copier paper. We are into packaging board also. The material that is made, these boxes are made out of, you might have seen, these are called packaging board, high-end packaging boards. And these are some of the stationaries. We were into stationery. We just recently, came out of the stationery business. We closed this. So these are some of the products that we have. These are the views of our plants at Orissa and Gujarat. I'm giving a glimpse of it just to have a feel as to how nicely they look. Our main three areas where we operate, one is copier. As I said, we are number one player in the market with 26% market share. Okay. Although we have competitors who have larger volumes, but as far as copier is concerned, we are highest in the market. Coated paper. Coated paper are the ones which you use for making, brochures and pamphlets, not pamphlets, brochures and this kind of things, okay, printing, high-end printing. We are actually number 2 in this with 11% market share. And our third category, as I said earlier, is high-end packaging boards. We call it virgin packaging board. One is that gray type, that's low quality, we don't make that. Here also we are number 2 with 18% market share. We have our presence, as I said, in 2 places. Total capacity is 4,55,000 tons. It's the revised capacity now, expanded capacity. The plant that we have in Gujarat is called CPM, or Central Pulp Mills. The packaging board product is produced only in CPM. And the other location is at Odisha, which is called as JK Paper Mills, JKPM, the oldest mill. And these are the capacities. Location-wise, as I said, JKPM is close to the, it's not very clear here in the map. JKPM, that is the Odisha plant, is close to raw material source. Raw material is wood in our case, major raw material. And CPM, the other, Gujarat plant, it produces, the major production is packaging board. Now, packaging board doesn't use, our own manufactured pulp. It uses bought out pulp, imported pulp. So we are close to the sea. So that gives us an advantage. At the same time, packaging market is mostly towards the western part of the country. So that location is also advantageous for us. We have strong distribution network, and as of date, we have about 5,000 manpower, strong manpower in the company. Some of the CSR activities. Our CSR activities, again, are not very much advertised. We have basic, 3 basic CSR activities, and we do it quietly. One is healthcare. The second is adult education. And third is livelihood interventions. Okay. And we, in our small way, sincerely do this. Some of you, if you visit sometime in Rayagada, Odisha, the kind of work that we do in adult education and particularly in livelihood intervention, you would be really surprised. You will really feel good. And at least I feel whenever I go to the plant, I really feel that yes, somebody's life is made better, and we are doing something for it. I'm not going into the details of it. Only the last one, these livelihood interventions are executed through what we call a small self-help groups. Okay, and this is all women self-help groups. And secondly, they are all tribal women. Our plants are located in heavily tribal populated area. So tribal women forming the self-help groups with our help is the feature of livelihood intervention. They are trained on making some things, stand on their own feet, and there are beautiful stories in local places. They are all printed from time to time. So this is about JK paper that I wanted to convey to you. I'll not now come to the next topic, as I said, as to what predicts success. So track change. All right. This is something which you might have seen at other places as well, or might have been addressed by and will be addressed by other speakers also. Would you believe that academic abilities alone can spell success in your lives? No, nobody will. Why? If you are a bright student, if you are a topper in the class, probably you are the first person to be placed. Wouldn't you? No? So I stand corrected. At least in my time, that used to be the story. Okay, so that's a good 30 years back. So good that things have undergone change. Now, this is a study, again, by Pennsylvania University, that students who got high grades have not necessarily high IQs. Okay, they have something in common. It's called grit. You got the word? Now, there was another study spanning over a period of long 30 years and covering 10,000 youngsters like you. And now, this is whatever I'm going to say now on will be focused primarily on the youngsters. And this study particularly was on youngsters in the age group of 25 to 30 years. So perfect for your age group. Now, that study says, there's something called cognitive control, which predicts success better than IQ. Okay. Now, what is cognitive control? It refers to the abilities of a person to delay gratification in pursuit of your goals. You're getting this point. See, you are in pursuit of your goals, you succeed or you do not succeed, there are other distractions, and you move away from the path of your accomplishing your goal. So that is delayed or that is avoided, number one. Number two, maintaining impulse control is extremely important. Okay, I find youngsters, particularly, I'll tell you a very small story. There's a girl working with me in Umang Dairy. She's just graduated, MBA, did MBA 2 years back. She comes to me and says, "Sir, I can't work anymore." What happened? She's very good at work, excellent at work, and independent. She does most of the things on her own. Comes, "I can't work." What happened? There are 2-3 people around her who keeps bothering her. With all sorts of, negative comments and pulling her down. Kya karoge idhar? This is what life you will get here and all these things. Every organization will have this type of elements. So she was extremely frustrated and extremely infuriated. So I'm going to put in my paper. I gave this lecture to her. So you have to have this impulse control. The best thing to do when you are impulsive or there's something which is bothering you is to stop thinking about it at least for some time. Because when your mind is excited, you can't think rationally. The rational goes over the top of your head, and whatever you do will most likely not be to your advantage. Similar thing, managing upsetting emotions well and holding focus. Okay, so these are the qualities of cognitive control. Grit, as I said, requires good cognitive control. Almost all companies have competency models. Why do they have competency models? It is basically to capture the grit or cognitive control aspect of people in the company. So, if a person does well, demonstrates higher level of higher level in the competencies as per the competency model, they are thought to be having very good cognitive control. Now, like other companies, we also have competency models. I'll just touch upon that a little later. Now, how do they arrive at Cognitive competencies, competency models are basically the constellation of abilities that your star performers demonstrate. They are stars by virtue of certain abilities they have, inherent abilities they have. Now that is what is captured in the competency model, as simple as that. It definitely includes grit and cognitive control, but it includes a little more than that. The entire emotional intelligence spectrum therefore covers, number one, self-awareness, self-management, empathy, and social effectiveness. Okay. So therefore, would you say that IQ and technical skills, whatever we are learning through studies, etc., do not matter? They do matter, because they are the threshold abilities. They are the threshold abilities. You have to have that, and you have all kind of cognitive control, grit, etc. But then no technical abilities, it doesn't help you. So up to a threshold level, these abilities do matter. Number one. So you must not ignore what you learn here. But the people that you would compete with in your life would also be expected to have the same abilities. Agree? Whatever you learn, if there is another person you want to, you are competing with him or her, he or she would also have the same kind of abilities. So therefore, what would be differentiating you from those people? It's the distinguishing competencies that you would process. Keep this in mind. Okay, these are confidence, striving for goals despite feedbacks, kind of repetitions in different words, staying cool under pressure, harmony and collaboration, and persuasion and influence. I'll just touch upon this particular word, persuasion. Let me tell you, I have worked in two different cultures where this is looked at an extremely negative quality of a person. I'm telling you a fact, I don't want to name the company. And the other place, this is considered to be a big requirement for a job. Now, at this stage, it's difficult for me to call who was right, who was wrong. But let me tell you, my final take is, if you have persuasion, why do you persuade? You always persuade for achieving something, doing something, keeping focus on what you want to achieve, what you want to do, a particular goal, objective. Mostly they are related to your work. So therefore, if it is your work, who would be most interested to complete it? You? Is this side? You are hearing? Okay. Now, if it depends on inputs on somebody else, would you put the ball in his or her court and leave it there? Okay, that's what is persuasion in simple terms, as far as I understand. So, my take therefore is, if it is in your interest, it's for you to be after the neck of that other chap and get it done. And let me tell you, the other company, even people at very senior levels never minded if you follow up, if you keep on persuading n number of times. Okay, so keep this in mind. It's something where there is a debate, but then that's what I feel. I don't know how you take it. Therefore, the emotional intelligence, as you see, would matter, and higher you go, this EI matters more. It is said that for top leadership, these are about 80 to 90% of the distinguishing competencies. Okay. There is a slogan, if you really want to bring success into your life, you should cultivate yourself just as you would cultivate a garden for the best yield. So therefore, this is in your hands. The message is, cultivating these competencies is great, the emotional intelligence, cognitive control, this is in your hand. Okay, so it's for you to decide whether you want to take it or you leave it. I'm skipping this because I'm running short of time. 10 traits of highly successful people. Okay. As I said, I'll just touch upon what competency model we have. We have, in fact, 12 identified competencies. We have, career stage competencies. If you, some of you who are in HR might have studied career stage competencies. And what I'm going to tell you is I'm not showing you all the competencies. This is at the entry level career. Okay. Now, there are 12 competencies. These are business perspective, analysis and decision making, execution, continuous improvement, customer focus, enabling outstanding people performance, leadership, communication, team working, ownership and accountability for results, learnability and self-management. Now, these are the 12 competencies. As you see, there are sub-competencies under each of these competencies. Okay. Now, actually these 12 competencies are split into 3 kinds of clusters. Do you see from these names, can you find out any logical clusters? I'll run through these 3 slides again. Do you see any logical clustering? Anyone? No? Let's say, what do these things deal with? And what do, let's say, these last 3 things deal with? Excellent. Excellent. So, I'll put it in a refined way. We have the first cluster as business cluster, where the first 4 competencies fall in: business perspective, analysis, decision making, execution, continuous improvement. I'm showing just for the sake of stating that there are 3 clusters which you must keep in mind. Second is the people cluster, leadership, enabling outstanding people performance, communication, team working, and customer focus. Each competency is again dealt with in detail as far as the definitions, etc. are concerned. What are the desired, behaviors that one would demonstrate under each competency? What is undesirable behavior, etc., etc. So that's a subject in itself. But since we are talking about competency as a key to success, we are touching on this. The last one, as you said, some of you, self-cluster. Okay. So these are the 3 clusters of competencies that we have. Incidentally, for your information, we have this data of relationship between performance and various other methods of assessing a person, judging a person. You can see competency-based assessment centers, which measures the level of competencies. The correlation is 0.65, which is very high in humanities and social sciences. Okay. In JK, the correlation that we have derived is 0.71, still higher than what is published in literature. Incidentally, this is from a book called Competence at Work, this table. So, all this I wanted to show you because just to state what is important, what goes into making somebody successful. Okay. Last part, another 5 minutes, changing role of HR. I would like other people also to kindly give your attention to it, because one of the points that would come in this is, henceforth we are looking at every manager as an HR manager. In fact, the call for all-rounder manager is growing stronger and stronger. So be prepared. If you are destined to succeed in life, be prepared to be a all-rounder manager. Okay. The first is changing employee horizon. I'll just give you a brief on this, how the horizon is changing. you have any idea about what is the economic growth of the country at present? 5.2, 5.1, different figures, all around 5%, all right? Now, how much has been the growth, let's say, in the first 8 years in the country? Any idea? Range? Excellent, yes. It was, the average was around 8%, slightly below 8%, but it peaked in 2008, perhaps, at 9.2%. Okay. Now, if that was the rate of economic growth, would you not expect a higher growth of employment? Did it happen? You have any idea? What was the employment growth rate? Any figure? Don't guess around. Please go back and Google it. You'll get the figures somewhere. The employment growth overall across sectors were much lower. Was much lower. Okay. Now, what happened actually? Let's look at it. I'll tell you very briefly in my own way. I'm not an economist. There was growth in GDP, all right. But how was the growth achieved? I'm saying this because I read it somewhere. There was focus on growth inside. Therefore, there was pressure on producing goods at a cheaper cost or import of goods. Okay. Now, what happened? By doing either, the pressure on manpower came. Now, as a result of that, there was, the increase in employment did not go up. Now, the major sufferer was manufacturing industry, obviously. Service industry, perhaps the growth was better, but then manufacturing industry growth was abysmal. In fact, I was just reading somewhere that every year the employable youth is increasing, number of employable youth is increasing by 2.5%, whereas job creation is at 2.3%. Now, I just saw a glimpse of what the PM said yesterday at Vigyan Bhavan, perhaps in the similar lines, and then he called all the industrialists and major focus was put again on manufacturing. Now, all this story I'm telling you because so far what we have faced, at least my perception is that there was in some corner, there was a fear of job loss in everybody's mind, or rather, I'd say people in minds in most of the people. Now, because there was always pressure, in somewhere I have certainly mentioned that our expansion, doubling the capacity, was without any single increase in manpower. We doubled the capacity, but we didn't increase the manpower because we adopted such a technology which doesn't require a great number of people, and that would give us competitive advantage, and that's what we did. Okay, we are among the lowest cost producer of papers. Now, this kind of pressure would always create a different set of mindset among people. So, handling those people would be a challenge. I wish what has been said by the PM comes true. In near future, probably we have a better life. Second is changing role of trade unions. Now, this is definitely going to come. There are already changes on cards as far as changes in century-old IR acts, Industrial Relations Acts, etc. There has been a growing demand across the companies as to what do you keep HR? Why do we keep HR? What do they deliver? Okay? Salespeople would say we sell so much, later when market is good, they say that, see, we have done and this is the growth that we have brought in the city, this is so much we have sold. When the market is bad, you can't help it, see, there's no demand, there's tremendous pressure on price, so they always have the upper hand. Finance, same thing. If you're doing well, getting your working capital is easy. If you're not doing well, the company's condition is bad, I can't get money. but there's always a measure. But HR, there are some works on measure all right, but then those are very hazy. So this is something which leaves some food for thought as far as deliverables are concerned. Related to this is more association of HR as a business partner. Okay, this everybody these days focus upon. I am also repeating the same thing. I already touched upon this point, changing role of line managers, all-round managers. In fact, this probably would reorient the role of HR in coming years. Traditionally, in fact, things have changed a lot now, but it still needs change. Traditionally, HR was a personal function, routine, doing routine job, employee records, personal form filling, etc., etc. But it's becoming more and more strategic than those kind of transactional content. HR has to have and maintain a continuous and strong linkage between management and employees. Now, this is a balancing act which many of us fail to do. Okay, even on the face of accusations, we must keep a balance between what we do. We have to take care of employee benefits. We have to build a good human resource base. At the same time, look at the companies, where the company actually gains. And finally, this is something which I would strongly advocate, is focusing more on people touch than HR processes. Somehow I feel over the years, HR in companies have become very strongly process oriented. There are several processes, and as if doing those processes or executing those processes is going to take the company to a higher level. I strongly feel, yes, processes are important, but they are supporting tools. The basic thing is there has to be direct touch with the people. And I have seen, in fact, I have witnessed, I have heard very strong stories. I have worked with companies which are very old very much Indian companies. And there, the senior people had, in fact, very, very senior promoters, owners, had direct touch even with workers. If there was a problem in the factory somewhere, the owner himself used to go, scold the workers or union or leaders, and those people used to quietly go back and start their work. Because they had faith, they had belief, and they had trust that, yes, these people will take care of me. Now that is something which needs to be maintained, and somewhere the distance is probably growing up. So that touch has to be there and has to continue. So with this, I end. Thank you very much for patient hearing.